Hi guys, welcome back. So in the previous video we have discussed regarding the basic aspects of the cell. Okay, so remember we are discussing the unit 3. In that we have started the new chapter, cell, the unit of life. So in the previous video, as I said, we have discussed about the cell, that what is a cell. Then we have also covered the cell theory in previous video. So let's move ahead to the next topic. So if you have not watched that previous video, so please go and watch it first and then watch this video. So now today we are going to discuss the very basic and the important part of this chapter, that is the different types of cells. So as I said earlier that all living organisms are made up of cells. So how many types of cells exist in the world? So basically if you want to classify these cells into the types, so you will find two basic types of the cells which are listed here. So the first type of a cell is a prokaryotic cell, or the organisms which are made up of prokaryotic cell are known as prokaryotes or prokaryotic organisms, and the another kind of cell is the eukaryotic cell. Okay, so these are the two fundamental types of cells. So don't confuse that. Our body is very complex and our body has many types of cells in the different organs, in the different tissues. Like our heart cells, cardiac tissue cells are different than the kidney cell, then the lung cells, then again brain cell, neural cells. Different kinds of cells are there in the body, but all those cells are included in this eukaryotic type. Okay, so basically at the end of this chapter you will be able to understand that which kind of organisms or which are the organisms in the world are the prokaryotes and which are the eukaryotes. Okay, you have to differentiate based on the certain criteria that we are going to discuss in this topic. Okay, first of all, before going to study the structure of prokaryotic and a eukaryotic cell, we must discuss about the basic difference of these two cells, right? So the basic difference is literally in the words itself. So prokaryote, this word is composed of two words. One is pro, pro means primitive, and the another word is carrion. Okay, carrion. So carrion means nucleus. So prokaryotes means the cells which have primitive kind of nucleus. Pro means primitive, carrion means nucleus, right? So what is a primitive nucleus actually? That also I'm going to explain. Basic feature of this cell is the nucleus is not membrane bound. This is actually a characteristic feature of a primitive nucleus, right? It will be clear when we discuss these eukaryotes. So which are the organisms in the earth are the prokaryote? So basically all bacteria, whether it is a eubacteria or archaebacteria, all of them are included in the category of prokaryotic organisms. Or in other words, you can say all the bacteria are made up of a prokaryotic cell. All bacteria. So bacteria are again classified as eubacteria and archaebacteria. These archaebacteria are considered as the extremophilic bacteria, which are found in the extreme conditions like high temperature, high pH, low temperature, high salt concentration, etc. And eubacteria are the true bacteria which can be found in a normal situations, right? So all these bacteria are prokaryotic. It means their nucleus is not membrane bound. Okay, so what does it means actually? So let's see. The another kind of cell is the eukaryotic cell. This word is also can be differentiated into two subwords such as U means what? U means true. Okay, U means true. And the another word is similar as of prokaryote, that is carry on. So carry on means what? Nucleus. So in one sentence I can say that a eukaryotic cell is the cell which has a true nucleus. So what is the difference between this primitive nucleus and a true nucleus? So difference is written here. So primitive nucleus do not have a membrane bound, primitive nucleus do not have a membrane envelope, but true nucleus is a membrane bound structure. It has a membrane, right? Which membrane? Actually it is a nuclear membrane. So in simple words we can assume, suppose this is a prokaryotic cell, a bacterial cell, and this is a eukaryotic cell, animal or plant cell, whatever it is. So say for example, this is the DNA of this bacterial cell, this is the DNA, and this is the DNA of this eukaryotic cell, right? So this is a eukaryotic cell and this is prokaryotic cell. So DNA, we know that nucleus has a genetic material, DNA. Okay, so in this case we can say that if a DNA is wrapped with this membrane, then collectively this structure we called as a nucleus. Okay, this is a nucleus, DNA which is wrapped by this complete true nuclear envelope, which is called as nuclear membrane. But here in case of prokaryote you will not find such nuclear membrane. So this nuclear membrane is completely absent in case of prokaryotes, but it is present in the eukaryote. This is the very fundamental difference between this prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. No doubt there are many other differences that we are going to discuss, but this is one of the basic difference which can be you can say uh, suggested based on these words prokaryotic and eukaryotic, right? So this is a primitive nucleus without nuclear membrane. This is a true nucleus with nuclear membrane. Then, as I said, all bacteria are the prokaryotic organisms, whether eubacteria or archaebacteria. So which are the eukaryotes? So except bacteria, rest of the organisms are eukaryotic organisms. All rest of the organisms, whether it is a algae, whether it is a fungi, protozoa, plants or animals, all living organisms except bacteria are the eukaryotes. Okay, so if somebody asks you human beings are prokaryotic or eukaryotic, you must say eukaryotic, because human beings are the animals, so animals are the eukaryotic. All plants are also eukaryotic, or protists, protozoa are the eukaryotic, all fungi are the eukaryotic, algae also it is eukaryotic. So all of them except bacteria are the eukaryotic. Okay, so this is a basic and fundamental difference between these two, prokaryotes and eukaryote. Here you can see the images also. So this is, first is the prokaryotic cell, which is a bacterial cell, and the another is a eukaryotic cell, it is an animal cell. Okay, so we'll discuss the different parts of these both cells. So we'll begin with the structure of prokaryotic cell. We'll discuss all the parts present in the prokaryotic cell, all the structures. Then similarly we'll be discussing all the organelle structures of a eukaryotic cell. Okay, then at the end of these both topics you will be able to answer all the differences between these two cells. But first of all you should remember this basic difference of a nucleus. Okay, so let's move ahead. So now let's discuss about the prokaryotic cell. So first of all we'll be discussing the general characteristics of prokaryotic cell. Then in the coming slides we'll be discussing the different parts of a prokaryotic cell, different parts from the external parts to the all cytoplasmic things which are present in the prokaryotic cells, right? So what are the general characteristics of a prokaryotic cell? So we are talking about the prokaryotic cell, it means we are talking about the structure of bacteria, because all bacteria are prokaryotic organisms. So if you want to answer the general characteristics of a bacteria, it means we have to answer the general characteristics of prokaryotic cell. Okay, and vice versa. So let's discuss the general characteristics. So first characteristic is all bacteria are made up of prokaryotic cell, as I said in the previous slide. All the bacteria, whether it is a eubacteria or a archaebacteria, all of them belongs to the group of prokaryotes. Then the second important characteristics we can say, these prokaryotes are generally very smaller. They are smaller and multiply more rapidly than eukaryotic cell. So what does it means? So if you compare the size of this prokaryote with respect to eukaryote, so the size of prokaryote means bacteria are, they are very tiny as compared to the eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell is very advanced and compartmentalized cells which are larger in size than these prokaryotes. And the another thing which is about the multiplication of these cells. So bacteria multiplies more rapidly than the eukaryotic cell. If you talk about the division of our body cells, human body cells, so our body cells divide in some hours. Actually, it may, in some of the cells may take 15 hours, some of the cells may take 24 hours or more than that. So too much time is required for the cell division in our body. But here, if you talk about the bacterial cell division, so I can tell you the one example. One bacteria is there called as E. coli, which is a normal microflora of our body present in our intestinal colon. So E. coli in laboratory basically divides in a 20 minutes. So its division time is only of 20 minutes. So in 20 minutes this one bacteria divides into two by a simple binary fission. Okay, means compared to eukaryotic cell, the time required to complete this division or multiplication is very less. So we can say this bacteria multiplies more rapidly than the eukaryotic cells, right? It doesn't mean that all bacteria requires 20 minutes to divide. So it is differed from bacterial species to the another species. Bacteria to bacteria, the time required for this division is different, right? Some of the bacteria are also there which takes 15 hours to divide too. Okay, so but most of the bacteria needs very little time to the divide to this division, right? So another characteristics, next characteristic is all prokaryotes have cell wall surrounding the cell membrane. Okay, suppose this is a bacteria and it is a cell membrane. Okay, so in addition to cell membrane, one more layer is there which is called as cell wall. So cell wall is also one of the characteristic feature of a bacterial cell. But again, here you need to remember one exception. One bacteria is there which is called as mycoplasma. This mycoplasma category of a bacteria do not have cell wall. So this mycoplasma is also called as a cell wall lacking bacteria. It don't have any kind of cell wall, right? But except mycoplasma, all prokaryotic cells, all the bacteria have cell wall. Okay, that we'll be discussing in the coming topics too. We'll be discussing separately about the structure of this cell wall. Okay, so there are four basic shapes of the bacteria, such as bacillus, which is called as rod shaped bacteria. One is coccus, which is a spherical bacteria. One is vibrio, which is comma shaped bacteria, and the spirillum, spiral bacteria. These are the basic shapes of the bacteria. There are so many shapes which are derived from these basic shapes. I will show you some of the diagrams of these shapes in the next slide. Then the genetic material of bacteria or a prokaryotic cell is naked. Basically it is a naked. Naked means what? This DNA is not wrapped with this nuclear membrane. Only the DNA is there in the cytoplasm of this prokaryotic cell without nuclear membrane. So this is a naked DNA. It doesn't have any kind of nuclear envelope like nuclear membrane. So one more thing you need to remember here. Suppose this is a eukaryotic cell and this is a DNA. So DNA is properly covered with the nuclear envelope, nuclear membrane in case of eukaryote. So this structure we called a true nucleus. This is a true nucleus, right? Having nuclear membrane. But in bacteria, the nucleus do not have a nuclear envelope. So just the DNA is embedded into the cytoplasm. So here we cannot call it as a true nucleus. So what we call it? So basically this structure of a prokaryotic cell is termed as nucleoid. It is a nucleoid. Remember, this is a nucleoid. Okay, nucleoid is the structure present in the prokaryotic organism and nucleus is the structure present in eukaryotic organism. So nucleoid is the kind of nucleus without the nuclear membrane. Then one more important characteristic of a prokaryotic cell is they lack membrane bound organelles. So bacterial cells do not have membrane bound organelles like plant and animal cells. So what are the membrane bound organelles? The organelles which are having their own membranes. For example, mitochondria, it has its own membrane. Chloroplast, it has its own membrane. Even nucleus we have discussed, which has its own membrane. So there are many membrane bound organelles which are not present in the prokaryotic cell. All these membrane bound organelle you will find in case of eukaryotes, plant and animal cells, right? So eukaryotic cell have that membrane bound organelle. These membrane bounded organelles also we have to cover in the coming topics. Okay, separately we will be discussing these membrane bounded organelles in the eukaryotic part. Okay, so let's move. So as I said, there are four basic shapes of the bacteria. One of them is the coccus shape, which is spherical bacteria. The plural word is the cocci, the singular is coccus. Another I said bacillus, which is a rod shaped bacteria, and plural this word is a bacilli. Singular is bacillus and plural is the bacilli. Then I said spiral shape of bacteria. Okay, spiral shape of bacteria. Here you some names are mismatched. These are the vibrio comma shaped bacteria, just like a comma they looks. Okay, here you will see the spiral bacteria. Okay, then these spherical bacteria can exist in a bunch, which is called as staphylococci. If they are in a bunch, they are called as staphylococci. If these coccus bacteria are in a chain like this, one coccus, another like this, they makes a chain, then these are called as streptococci. Okay, if they are in a pair, this one cocci and another cocci, then they are called as diplococci. Examples are mentioned here with respect to these shapes. Then this bacilli, example mycobacterium tuberculosis. Then there are streptobacilli again in a chain. Okay, and sometimes the bacteria are like spherical and also looks like a rod. Okay, so this intermediate shape is there, not a perfectly spherical, not a perfectly rod. These are called as cocobacilli. Okay, one more shape is there. Then vibrio comma shape I said. Then the spirillum, spiral bacteria. And sometimes the bacteria are having these more turns along one axis. It looks like a structure of a DNA. These bacteria are called as spirochetes. Okay, so these are the different shapes of bacteria, but with respect to our syllabus you have to remember at least four shapes, that is coccus, bacillus, vibrio and spirillum. These four basic shapes you should know, and remember the at least one example of each. Okay, as I said, there are many shapes which derived from these basic shapes like streptococci, streptobacilli and all. So these are not a part of syllabus, but just for information you can keep in your mind, but these basic shapes you must know. Okay, now the next topic is about different parts of a prokaryotic cell. Okay, now from this slide we are going to discuss about different parts of a bacterial cell. So we'll be discussing the cell envelope, so how the cell envelope is made up of, which are the layers are there in the cell envelope. Then we'll be moving towards the next part of this bacterial cell, flagella, pili, then fimbriae. Then we'll be moving in the inside, nucleoid and all other parts present in the cytoplasm of the bacteria. So up to this are the basic details of the prokaryotic cell. Okay, so up to this we have discussed the general characteristics, and in the next video we'll be starting the each and every part of this prokaryotic cell. Okay, so you have to remember all these general characteristics, and you must know the differences between prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cell. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment section, or separately you can ask me on my WhatsApp number. Okay, so if you are new to this YouTube channel, then please subscribe, press the bell icon to get the future notification, and share these videos to your friends so that they will be also get benefited. Thank you.